At this time to say welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the fresh brand new edition of the program Ashford God Live on this beautiful Tuesday night. It feels great to be back home. It feels great to be back to doing what we love to do. And just in case you're celebrating the birthday today, I'd like to say congratulations. And let us show hope that you live to see many, many more birthdays to come. This is BridgeRadioAfrica.com. We're also live on YouTube. We're live on Twitter and Periscope as well. And then we're also live on www.bridgeradioafrica.com. Welcome.
Come down, Dio, come down and bring my baby back.
And taking you back to yesteryears. Frost Zero is here in the building. Welcome, my brother. So shortly, we're going to introduce to you Mrs. Letty Brooks Roberts, head of Information Highway. And following that, we're going to go to West Africa, Liberia, where Miss Angel Morris is standing by to bring you the news update. We have two special guests in the building tonight. Mr. George Williamson, and we're still looking forward to seeing Mr. Jid Rennie Doppel. In the meantime, folks, sit back, relax, and welcome to your favorite platform. Let's have fun. At this time, I want to go to Information Highway where my co-host is standing by, Mrs. Letty Brooks Roberts. Mrs. Roberts, hello and welcome to the show.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Garley. How are you?
Good. I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm well, thank you for asking. Again, we want to say good evening and welcome to another thought-provoking Tuesday.
You are a little bit lower, though. You might want to please increase the volume from your device.
Okay. Hello. Good evening.
Okay, I think you sound a little better now. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Garley. Good evening and welcome to another thought-provoking Tuesday edition of the Ashford Garley Show with your host, Ashford, the Garley, the giant rather, Garley. Thank you for choosing Bridge Radio Africa as your choice of information and entertainment. Please share this broadcast with your friends. And in addition to all of the information we have for you, we also welcome you to sponsor this broadcast or any broadcast of your choice. If you have an announcement you would like to make, please call the Bridge Radio Africa number at 248 979 1718. Please note, this platform is for a matured audience. Please be respectful of our guests, of each other, and most importantly, please be respectful of our host. Please visit Bridge Radio Africa for more information on the COVID-19 news, music, and what have you. Again, please make yourselves comfortable. Please grab your meal of choice or your drink of choice. If you have already had your dinner, grab your snack of choice as we bring you an informative and entertaining evening with your host. Again, Mr. Garley, back to you.
Thank you. Again, that's the voice of Mrs. Letty Brooks Roberts, our co-host out of Information Highway. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, please join me as we go to West Africa, Liberia, where Miss Angel Morris is standing by to bring us the news bulletin around not only in Liberia but in other parts of Africa. Miss Morris, hello and welcome to the show.
A very pleasant hello to you, Mr. Garley, and I would love to use this opportunity to say hello to everyone, all of our listeners and viewers of Bridge Radio Africa. Well, today in our major headlines making news across Africa, we have 4 countries that we have featured, but Liberia is a priority. Today, the 5th of May 2020, the World Lebanese Cultural Union donated a multi-duplex building to the government and people of Liberia to be used officially as a treatment and quarantine center for coronavirus patients. As of the 5th of March 2020, Liberia reports 170 confirmed COVID-19 cases, 20 deaths, 92 active cases, and a total number of 58 recovered cases. So in Liberia, we have the Daily Observer newspaper has reported that Liberia scores 38% in Transparency Institute for Research and Democratic Development, IRED 2019 Open Budget Survey. So again, we have a landslide in Grand Cape Mount County today. Tower District left 2 persons dead at the gold mine. And this was reported by a local resident and in line with Bridge Radio Africa. Lastly, from Liberia, we have Central Bank ends Biden for printing of new early bank notes. So we go right here to Senegal, and this one says Senegal reports it's 9 new confirmed cases of the coronavirus pandemic. Madagascar says amid World Health Organization caution, the African Union is currently in talks with the people of Madagascar and that of the government of Madagascar over their newly COVID-19 organics product. Lastly, to Ivory Coast, we have Ivory Coast Prime Minister Amadou Gon Coulibaly evacuated to France for medical checks following self-isolation in March. And this was reported by the Al Jazeera News. So that does it for our major headlines making news across Africa.
Okay, folks. Again, you just heard from British Radio Africa's own Miss Angel Morris. Angel, what is this in the news? You want to bring us up to speed? What do you know so far in Liberia that is trending?
Okay. Well, did you follow the video today, the donation that was made to the government of Liberia?
Yes, you mean from the Lebanese community, correct?
Sure.
Okay,
Sure,
you might
sure.
just want to expand on that. What was that about?
Okay, so today the World Union of Lebanese people gathered today and donated a multi-complex building. I think I actually showed a picture of the building in the video. It was a very, very great donation today. They actually did this to present it to the government of Liberia. According to them, this is their own gesture. This is what they can give to the people of Liberia in this crisis of COVID-19. Especially, they have observed that quarantine centers have been problem for Liberian citizens. The country's lack of ventilators, so they also provided one ventilator and a very, very well prepared quarantine center. So the facility has like 3 rooms, but specifically a very big room with 50 beds, and we also have a private room plus a semi-private room. So the facility is actually good. We have ventilator. They also brought out some doctors that are going to be assigned at that particular facility. And what also happened is that they said after COVID-19 might have left Liberia or might have gone from Liberia, they are going to hand over that building to the government of Liberia to use it as a very, very good clinic for the people of Liberia. So this is what happened today. That was a donation, and it was received by the Minister of Health, Dr. Wilhelmina Jala. She actually appreciated the World Lebanese Union for that kind gesture. And also the Minister of State, Minister Nathaniel McGill, were also there to receive the gift and extend his appreciation on behalf of the president. We also had the Foreign Minister, Mr. Grensogan Findel. He was also there to receive the gift on behalf of the government of Liberia and that of President George Manuel.
Oh wow. Okay. Again, Miss Angel, what else is in the news?
So, as I stated again during the major headlines making news across Africa, today there was a landslide, a major one in Grand Cape Mount County, precisely where they have the gold mine. And that incident actually led to the death of 2 persons, leaving several injured. So, these are things happening in Liberia, and we also have additional COVID-19 cases. Cumulatively, we have 117 confirmed cases at this moment, and 20 persons have died. So we have 92 active cases, and like 58 persons have recovered. So this is where we are as a country, and these are things that are ongoing.
Well, in fact, our topic tonight is that the president of Liberia reclaimed his 9th Street home. Yesterday, you listened to uh, the the deputy press secretary, the executive
Smith
manager
Toby.
Smith Toby said, prior to that, there were photographs of this huge uh, building or castle, if you may. And a day later, Smith came up and said the building is not it's not owned by the president. It was in fact the son of the president who in fact owns the building. Well, today, to our surprise, Smith Toby came on and said he made a mistake, and he said the building is owned by the president of Liberia. What a solemn change within less than 24 hours. Angel Morris, what do you know?
Well, according to what I have been following about this particular story, um, it's kind of very fascinating, Mr. Garley, because what I read again from a local media outlet was that the true owner of the buildings, because it's not just a single building, the true owner of the building told the deputy press secretary to come and tell the Liberian people again that no, I made a mistake. So this is just it. The deputy presidential press secretary Mr. Smith Toby apologized actually today for giving the public a wrong information concerning the president's 9th Street property. And Mr. Garley, according to Mr. Smith Toby, the property on 9th Street, pardon me, belongs to President George Maniwia and not his son. So the doubt here is why did he actually lie at first to the Liberian people by asserting that that building actually belongs to President George Maniwia. And at this moment, today he was on OKFM Liberia, and then he apologized and corrected his misinformation that that particular building doesn't belong to the president's son, who is Timothy Weah, but instead it belongs to President George Maniwia.
Well, we have some supporters here for CDC and President Weah. They are going to be answering the question. Lastly, just before we take leave of you, something we're going to discuss later on in the program. President George Weah said he is the most successful president in the history of Liberia, given the time that he has already spent in office. Did you listen to him? He was on a local radio station this morning.
Freedom FM.
Okay. Well, you didn't have to say the name because in journalism you're promoting others. But anyway, that's it. But he said he's the most successful president in the history of Liberia. You listen to him. What do you make of this?
Well, Mr. Garley, if I was just an ordinary Liberian or just an ordinary citizen, I could have made my judgment. But at this moment, I am a journalist. So basically, I should be very neutral in my analysis. I cannot judge President Weah. That was just what he think about himself. You know, every individual having the opportunity to be a leader, you just have to say some few things about yourself so that your constituents will kind of regard you. But I cannot speak too much to this because I know the country we are living at this moment. For President Weah to actually rate himself as the best president in the entire record of all of the presidents we have been having in Liberia. So I can't say too much, but I believe that that statement needs to be readdressed. It needs to be relooked at. And thank you. You already said that we have some representatives from his party and from his background. They are going to basically give us some clarification in line to that. But I can't really speak to that, whether President Weah has been a very good president or he has been the best president, because he just has to kind of praise himself because you know he is in leadership.
Thank you. The voice of Angel Morris. Thank you so much. And we'll talk to you soon, Angel. I don't know how many of you remember this one. Back in the day of the Tubmans, the Tubberts. Oh man, when you heard about Grand March, this was the song that was in fact played at every ball where the older folks had the cold that they could.
Messenger audio. Messenger audio.
At this time, we want to go back to Information Highway, and Mrs. Letty Brooks Roberts is standing back to read quite a few comments, and then we can begin the show. Mrs. Roberts, welcome to the show again.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Garley, and thank you, Miss Angel Morris. I love you. You are so smart. But yes, going back to our comments, we have trending. Akbar Momolu, he says, Lord, please help Mama Liberia. Verdell Campbell, hello, Bridge Radio, and hello, my chairman, Mr. Williamson. Elizabeth Bowen, our play songs, thanks, the Giants. We have Mr. Emmerich Benson Nicol Jr. watching. Ivan Brooks Sr. watching live from Norway. Verba Salifu, hello, Bridge Radio, Africa family. Samantha Johns is watching. Salimatu Kone, respectful, period. We have Miss Rocadia Johns watching. Clarence Jackson writes, good evening, everyone. Jerome Roberts, Hello there, Miss Morris. Bernice Sisker Early is watching. Marie Pade is watching. Marie writes, good evening, family. Kalon Sayed. Where is Moses, man? Steve B. And we have Miss Cy Barr says, thanks for the relay. Gertrude Bannerman, watching from Minnesota. Josephine Toze, hello, hello, watching from Philly. We have Wheelers, Amigwe, Boiler, watching. Amos George is watching. Vida Dunner, good evening, Rich Radio family. We have Miss Juanita Say watching. And Wheeler Amigwe Boiler writes, Ashford H. Garley, the giant. I'm here taking my coaster, my, my steam syrup. I think it's coaster machine syrup. I'm not sure. The only medicine for we are virus. Recommend this for those suffering from we are virus. Juanita say, I'm watching you from Newark, New Jersey. Smeg Dawie is watching. Wheeler, Amigwe writes again. Liberians, please visit Bridge Radio to buy your coastal medicine syrup to cure this weird virus. It's the only medicine recommended for the cure for this menace called weird virus. Smith Dawie, hello family. G Cheer Tape, Riddle Riddle. My dad built his house. People came up and said, it's my house. Since I'm the son, me, son, I say, nope, it's not my house. Who am I? Wow. Francis Mulba writes, we will pay for what he is doing to the people of Liberia. We have Ambassador Angel Morris watching. Jerome Roberts writes, I remember that music, Ashford. Verbal Salifu. You are very correct, Angel. Fedzarius Labla. Smith Toby had reduced himself and compromised his integrity to the extent that sooner he started to refer to Weir as Daddy. Lesa Bali Patokoli is watching. Lawrence Williams writes, we is a no, we don't use those words here. Um Insults, no. Danlet Macaulay writes, I remember one of those guys from the president's press office said that ninth well said the Ninth Street property was Timothy's on Sickle show a while ago. Wheeler Amigua Boiler writes again. Joel Williamson, stop disgracing yourself with this type with this type of people. You are an honest man who I respect. Cecilia Janet Colley writes, good evening, happy family. We have Esther Vatois, she says, hi. Emmanuel Garley, he writes, good job, brother. Love your show. Mike Kokolupa Sandy, thanks. Thank you, Angel Morris. Vida Dunner, Vivian Eastman, Hawa Mesga, where are you? Well, Hawa Mesga is watching. Sarah Putu, where you writes, replying to Damlet. Danielette, my darling, it was Smith Toby that said that on Seku Show, my dear. You are not you are not lying. I remember it very well. Nora Guam writes, oh, she says I'm watching. And then we have Cresco Bimba Masali. George Weah is Liberia Donald Trump. It's all about him. He said he is the best president, even in Liberia. when comes to when it comes to stealing from the country. The man is right in a sense. He was just 1 year in office when 16 million dollars went missing under his watch. Another 25 million was unaccounted for, and in the same year, Liberian people saw this man build 47 mansions in a short possible time. Mariatu Dede Bonner writes, your hello has been a wow. Santiago Bility, your correspondent made a brilliant analysis. The dysfunctionality have characterized this regime is obvious. How many times will this government keep tracting statements? Emmanuel Garley, good job, brother. I love your show. Clarence Jackson, I enjoy Angel Morris's analysis. Wheeler Amigwe Boiler, I don't know how we are in his criminal friends sleep at night with all this noise. Some people are heartless criminals. Salimatu Konen, the state of emergency has turned into something else. We have Babel Musa Sr. He says, President Weah is right to grade himself the best because our lawmakers are questioning him, only looking at him and directing the country money for his personal projects. But he will one day pay for it.
2 more comments, please.
We have, sure, Miss Dwayne Freeman watching, and I am going to 2 more and we're done. Weddy Thompson writes, I'm watching from Brooklyn Center, Minnesota. Hello, family. Last but not least, we have my dual pillar son, Miss my dual pillar son. What? Y'all keep worshiping Lord Weah. You're all going down. Back to you, Mr. Crowley. Thank you.
Do you remember this one? Don't be selfish now. Please share the video. Invite a few friends. I'm very sure we're going to take up to the guest. And you will also have the opportunity tonight to weigh in as well. See how you do me so. See how you do my country. Oh man.
How you do me so? How you do me so? How you do me so? Tima, how you do me so? You were my best friend, you went and took my boyfriend. How you do me so? Tima, how you do me so? I didn't ask him, he took his pen and wrote me. Because I love him, that's why I answered. How you do me so? How you do me so? How you do me so? Tima, how you do me so? You were my best friend, you went and took my boyfriend. Oh, how you do me so? How you do me so? I'm going to see him tonight, tonight, I'm going to see him tonight, I see you today.
And tonight hit you all right, oh.
I'm very glad to hear that, I'm very glad to hear that, I see you today. I'm going to see him tonight, I'm going to see him tonight, I see you today.
Eduna do seco.
I'm very sad to hear that. I'm very sad to hear that. I should do today. I'm going to see it tonight. I'm going to see it tonight. I should do today.
I got bad you Eduna de Jutero.
Tree dropping. Tree dropping. Tree dropping. I wrote a letter to my darling on the way he dropped it. Little boy pick it up and put it in his pocket. Tree dropping. Tree dropping. Tree dropping. I wrote a letter to my darling when he dropped it. Little boy pick it up and put it in his pocket. Tree dropping.
Leave the poor pure pepper butch.
Oh, young lady, oh, you gentleman, do you think it's fair? All the children like a man, steal the widow, steal my part, steal your part, steal the widow, steal. Oh, young lady, oh, you gentleman, do you think it's fair? All the children like a man, steal the widow, steal my part, steal your part, steal the widow, steal the widow, steal the widow, steal.
So shortly, we're going to go to our guests.
Steal.
Welcome to British Radio Africa. We're live on YouTube. We're also live on Periscope, Twitter, Instagram, you name it. We're live on www.bridgeradioafrica.com. That now you know me. How old was Vendel Campbell and Vida Donner? Oh man. By that time now, you know, people that like Brooks rappers that used to be cooking fire. Bad. Musu Benson, can you remember this one?
Go in and out the window, go in and out the window, go in and out the window. But we are here today. Go forth and choose a partner, go forth and choose a partner, go forth and choose a partner. But we are here today. I measure my arms to show you, I measure my arms to show you, I measure my arms to show you. But we are here today. Oh, hey, give me chicken.
Can't get it.
Oh, hey, give me chicken.
Can't get it.
I want that red one.
Can't get it.
I want that black one.
I said my mind bone me.
I want that white one. I want
That pocket tail.
Oh, hey, give me chicken. My back will never break. My back will never break. But I put it down with bring my back. I put it down with bring my back. I put it down with bring my back. I put it down.
What can be right?
Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, once again, we'd like to say that be welcome to BridgeRadioAfrica.com. We're live tonight from Detroit, Michigan, and it's about 57 degrees in Detroit. We're also live in other parts of the world, depending on which state, country you find yourselves in. Just please make yourselves feel at home. At this time, I don't know who's this, a little click in the background there, but I want to just please mute your device if you are not speaking. I'm pretty sure this is not Letty Brooks Rabbits because you already knows the drill. At this time, I want to introduce to you Mr. Joel Williamson. Mr. Joel Williamson supports George Weah and everything George Weah stands for. So I will give him 2 minutes to just give us his opening statement. Mr. Williamson, welcome to British Radio Africa.
Thanks. Let me just again, Joel Williamson. I am a strong supporter of CDC and an ardent supporter of president. Not everything he stands for, because there are places where the president and myself have differed. I support the president. I'm loyal to my party, but my value in life drives my political views on issues. So there are places where I differ with my party, but by and large, I support the pro government. And where we go wrong, I don't think we're talking about perfection yet, but where we err, I'll be glad to make that known. And I'm resident in the United States. I don't speak here for the CDC government, nor do I speak for the party itself. I'm giving it as a staunch supporter of the party and the Liberian government.
Okay. There's the voice of Mr. Joel Williamson, the stone member of the CDC, based here in the United States of America. Will not go to our second guest, Mr. J. Randy Doppel. Mr. Randy Doppel is this fearless, uh, very tough talking talk show host, based here in the U.S., a stone member of the CDC. At a certain point in time, when he didn't see things going the way he wanted things to go, he suspended his membership. But he's the guy that would say it to you if you're not doing the right thing, and he would give you kudos when you are on the right path. So at this time, I'll give him 2 minutes to introduce himself. Mr. Doppel, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you. I think you already got a head start on my introduction right there. So we took some percentage off. Again, my name is Jay Randy. Many of you that know me, I ran the campaign in 2016-17 that elected President Weah. That's a history that I would take to my grave, that I was part of the team. And I promise that if the president does the right thing, I will come and commend him for that. And if there's some deviations in what he does, I will also come here. And from the get-go, I did that. And today I'm here promoting the good things that the president continues to do. And I think he's heading in the right direction. And I think Seditians who once were against what I stood for are now coming to understand that actually I was fighting in the interest of the government. And as you can see, our government now is doing extremely well. So it's my pleasure to be here to discuss whatever issue surrounding your show today with regards to our government. I'm here, and I appreciate you for also having someone else to join us here. So thank you so much for the opportunity. I wish others could be like you to bring some of us on their show for us to defend our government in every way possible, because that's how we would diversify this leadership of our government. Thank you so much, Ashford. Back to you.
Thank you. Again, that's the voice of Mr. Doppel. And folks, you already know I'm Ashford Garley. I am not a part of any political party. I represent Liberia. So if the ruling party does well, we are yeah, and we're gonna say it. If the mistreat the country, we'll also come here, name and shame them. And a few years ago, I was a part of the opposition, and but I'm the type of guy that would not hold my tongue if somebody misrepresents the party or the country. So, and for the many years I have been in the media, I just thought it was uh, to not be a part of any political party. We lose out on a few friends, but sometimes in the game of this thing, you got to believe in yourself. And for the first time, I feel relief. The fact that I can sit here and say I am not part of any political party, that in itself is a blessing, and that this is something that I really want to do. We are building media empire, and we want to open up this platform to people who are within the government, and to people who are in opposition, in the event where you've done some things or you continue to do something, want to have the opportunity to question you, to ask you what to ask the big questions. Do not be afraid to come on this platform. And to our viewers and fans, I beg you, we have got to learn to please be respectful of our guests, whether they are with the government or with the opposition. I know all of you would not agree on the same things, but please, when you come on the platform, there are a lot of responsible people. I mean, working class, middle class, people who are upper class, people, poor people, rich people, that they all admire this platform, and that's one of the reasons why they come on here. So let us please respect the platform, respect our guests. If you disagree with them, please be respectful on your disagreement. With that said, I'd like to bring back up Mr. Williamson. Mr. Williamson, with just less than 24 hours, the deputy press secretary to President Weir came out and switched up his statement. Yesterday it was like after we saw the few photographs of the building on that street, he came out and said the building is owned by Timothy Weir, the son of President Weir. As a matter of fact, the mother is in fact managing the project. 24 hours later, he comes back, takes to the podium, takes to the radio station via the phone, and said, "Listen, I want to apologize. What I said yesterday was not true. President Weir still owns this building or this compound. So are we now saying President Weir repossessed his 9th Street residence from his something Weir? What do you know so far, Mr. Williamson?"
Well, thanks for having me in again. I mean, here is the thing here, though. I don't know if he repossessed it, if Timothy ever owned it, and I've never heard President Weir said that Timothy owned it. They Sam Toby made a mistake and he corrected it. He apologized. I hope that we can accept his apology rather than read into it, because I don't think Timothy ever owned that property, or his father ever said that Timothy owned it. So what the Weir family situation, I would not want to get in there, but I want to accept Toby's apology. Toby is a human being. He erred. He made a mistake. He said it. He came and corrected. I hope we can accept his mistake and move on rather than read into it and make a mountain of a molehill.
Voice of Mr. Joel Williamson. Let me go to Randy. Randy, what is your take?
I think Smith is no different from any one of us here. We are all subject to errors, but we see ourselves victor of somebody's errors, and then we tend to capitalize on it. It's a family issue. There's a folks say in our country that families they can bend and they cannot break. While it is true that Smith Toby worked for President Weir, there are compound family issue that may come out. For example, we heard Smith Toby come in and say, "Hey, the property that you see on 9th Street belongs to Timothy Weir, the son of the president." Whether that was given to Tim as a gift, and maybe later on down the road, Tim comes and say, "Hey, Dad, I don't need that property anymore." And then Smith Toby is not in the know, and he said it in the past, and now he went on radio and said it, and it was live in the public, and the president heard it and said, "Oh, Smith, I forgot to mention this to you. Tim told me that he don't want the property anymore. I know I heard you out there saying that it still belongs to him. Oh, Chief, I didn't know that. Let me make a clarification." So, no big deal. How many of us there having bought something and want to give it to our son or our daughter, and because they feel that they are independent and say, "You know what, I don't need that." We give cars to our family, our children as a gift. In the end, they can return it to us. We get so many things out. So I don't see the issue why people are trying to crucify Mr. Tope about what he said. So for me, I'll put it to rest. We got bigger issue right now in this country and around the world for us to focus on. So that's my take on that.
Okay, let us take a listen to what Smith Toby had to say today on one of the local radio stations. I'm still learning this platform yet, so please bear with me.
The Ministry of Internal Affairs Lands, Mines, and Energy, and the disaster management team of this government will reach out and assess the situation, report to His Excellency the President on the gravity of what has taken place in Grand County.
Okay. Since yesterday we spoke to you concerning this project on 9th Street, I know there have been some new developments. What is it?
Yeah, Julius, until we spoke on yesterday, our information around the project that you made mention on 9th Street on yesterday, and based on our response to that question, we've gathered further information. And again, because we've built for ourselves a repetition that we intend to hold and keep, no matter how others feel about what we've done and what we continue to do, we still want to be truthful to the Liberian people because there is a tomorrow ahead of us in our professional sojourn. So again, we've come back to the same medium that we used on yesterday to inform the public and the listening audience that's following our conversation with you on yesterday. The current information that we want to share with you is that the project on 9th Street is not owned by Timothy Weir, as was said on yesterday. The project is owned by His Excellency the President. He decided to remodel the project, and the current structure is under his supervision. And I just thought to come back to the public because it's a conversation in the public clear, and of course I provided the information yesterday. I've thought to come back to the public to inform the public that that project has no attachment to Timothy Weir.
Well, Mr. Tobe, people may think because of the backlash, two things. Either the information you provided yesterday was really not true and you're trying to save face, that's one. Or two, today that it could be his, but because of the backlash and not wanting him to place him at the center of controversy in Liberian politics, that you are walking back on it.
Like I said, prior to our conversation on yesterday, the information that we've gathered was what we provided. Until we spoke to you on yesterday, then we had additional information that we are currently providing to you. So the new information, which of course was confirmed by the owner of the property in question, is that the property belongs to the president. It has no attachment to his son, and it is under his supervision. That property is being there. He decided to remodel the property, and so as you see it develop, it is under his ownership that the project on 9th Street is being developed, and not Timothy Weir.
So it has never been for Timothy Weir.
Again, what we are providing for you is the information that we were finally informed about, and that is why we've come back to the same medium to inform you that the property does not belong to Timothy Weir. It is President George Weir's property. He is developing that property, and it is belonging, not property for his son.
It is. One time I am a little stoned. One would wonder where did you get the first information from?
So we work in the circle of the president. So if our information surrounding the property and information to the public about the property was diverged, and of course there is a new information surrounding the current ownership or the ownership of the property. The information we are providing as we speak is the information that has been provided. The information that we provided were information from in the circle of the presidency. Today, we spoke to the owner of the property.
Okay.
Confirmed what we are putting forth to the public, And our confirmed information is Mr. Timothy Weah has no attachment to that property.
So what I'm getting from you is that previous information may have been from the circle of the president, like someone close to him say, "Oh, this is how this is." Right now, the president himself, as so you know, that's not it. This is why it is.
So the owner of the property is the president. So when the president confirmed to me that the property has no ownership to his son, I need to come back to the public to dispel what the circle confirmed or informed us. So I'm giving you what was confirmed by the owner of the property, which of course is the president. That the property belongs to him and has no attachment to his son.
With how go into what happens between you and your boss, but was he angry at you?
No, it was not a matter of being angry. It's a matter of us putting forth information, and I think again, from the way we've worked around the presidency, is also a situation that I think we need to understand a little bit more. It is not about him being angry. It is also about us being more factual and careful in speaking about his private property or his ownership. Sometimes there are people who we relate to, and especially when it relates to his property, those are not something that the president work in the government cycle that we are aware of. So those are family properties, and of course it's about the presidency and of course the individual who is the president. So if our previous information were incorrect around that particular claim, now he's come back to tell us, hey, the information that you sent out wasn't correct. You need to correct that information and let the people know that it is my property. It has no attachment with my son.
So you are, why doing an erratum as is doing in journalism? You are also apologizing to the public for
which of course
for misleading them.
Professionally, I have to do. Okay. And I don't see it as a guilt to do. Everyone will write, and of course, in their writing or in the reportage, have the right as a broadcaster, as a journalist, to do a write-up. I'm doing the same right now. That the previous information on that property wasn't the factual information. The fact of the matter correctly and confirmed by the president is the property belongs to him and not his son.
Okay. Thanks so much, Mr. Toby, for.
That's the voice of Mr. Smith Toby. He's the Deputy Press Secretary to the President of Liberia. If you listen to Mr. Toby, he said he gathered information within the circle of the president, but he works directly for the president. He is the spokesperson or one of the spokespersons for the president. You both just listened to Mr. Toby, and somebody were asking about somebody on the other side of the aisle. We have two other guests that was going to represent the opposition, but their schedule were very tight, so they couldn't show up. But in the absence of the guests who represent the opposition, we'll open up the telephone lines, and people who have listened to both of you and listened to the Smith will come away. And with that said, we have Mr. Zizi, Professor Zizi Wadid on the line, calling from the East Coast. Ubigi, hello and welcome to the show.
Hey man, good evening, Ashford.
Welcome.
Yeah, I'm just listening. Very buff and experience. Listening to Smith Toby.
From my line is muted.
You know, we're in a very tragic situation with Liberia. And it behooves all of us, genuine Liberians who have a determinative spirit to change the conceptualization, the current tragedy that is prevailing in Liberia, to create an atmosphere and an opportunity and the possibility for millions of our people who are starving, who have been deprived of the basic resources of the country. And in the midst of all of this, there is a global pandemic that is taking place in Liberia.
I don't know what just happened to the line.
I'm Buffalo myself from the very beginning, listening to Smith Tobit making one pronouncement, coming back the same individual being under pressure. The information we are gathering is that
not hearing you, Ashford.
the issue as raised by Mr. Toby in the initial stages of this particular conversation that has been
Randy, can you hear me?
I can
concerning
please do that.
Mr. Weir claiming that the house in the Lincoln area belongs to his son.
Can you hear also,
the
Joel?
son not wanting to have anything to do with this particular situation in terms of not only the public clarity, but the concerns of Liberians, both at home and abroad, where we live in a global village where everything is at an instant in terms of how information has been disseminated. So, you know, if you look at the pages of history, you know, some of us who sit abroad, who have a great interest in this country, who, you know, have gone through trials and challenges and tribulations and difficulties, to have fled, to have had an opportunity to live in a diaspora, all the basic opportunities that you can think about, to have academically, strategically, economically strengthening our own capacity that are interested in giving back to the country. But, you know, when you sit from abroad and see what is happening and get all of the basic information in terms of what is actually taking place on the ground, this is why I describe it as a tragedy. Where's the country headed? You know, this is our own country brother who claimed he had love for the people. Really tell me, in a period of 3 years, the country is sinking and degenerating to a pivotal pit that has left a handful, and all around the world, handful of individuals who have acclimated to the political process in the actual sense of the word, taking a bulk of the resources of the nation, using it for their own personal gains, and leaving the rest of the people in absolute poverty, despair, unimaginable conditions that you cannot describe in the West African region. And this is why I call it a tragedy.
Thank you.
Because I think Mr. Weir needs to go back to the playbook, the political playbook. The world is watching. The tailors came, did theirs. Where are they today? History is going to hold these guys accountable, and it's just a matter of time.
Thank you, sir.
When the pages are reading and when accountability has been called, Mr. Weir and his bunch of cronies will have to answer to the people of Liberia. This is unacceptable. We cannot, we will not continue to live in such a situation that is so pathetic to see people who claim to be a representative of the people given the opportunity to see the country degenerating the way it is. Listen to Mr. Tobey. I want to talk about the question of ethics and professionalism and the profession. Want to leave that for another day. But if you listen keenly to the gentleman and his pontification, it clearly indicates that he's trying to take back his words. But yes, where we live in, a world that is fully engaged with social media globally or around the world. The people of Liberia have had too much.
Thank you, Mr.
Enough is enough.
Mr. Potter. Thank you so much.
This tragedy, this travesty of justice must end.
Thank you so much. Want to go to Arizona where Mr. Steve Boled is standing by. Steve, hello. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mr. Garley. I'd like to start off by saying thanks to the Liberian people for tuning in. They're the most important people, like I've always said. And I still believe 100% that Liberian women are the most beautiful women on earth. I think my brother, Jay Randy over there, and Joel can attest to that because Jay Randy, I know he's married to a Liberian woman and he's married to my sister. So he knows Liberian women are the most beautiful women on earth. But let me get to the issue here. Let's come to the Smith-Tobe issue very quick. Smith-Tobe, let me say here, and I want to be on the record, is a pathological liar. Let me say why. The reason I'm saying he's a pathological liar is because this is not his first time making this claim. So I'm listening to my brother Randy and my brother Joel trying to spin this issue as though, let's just brush it off and walk away. Smith-Tobe was the first time Smith-Tobe ever said to the word and the Liberian people that George Weah's son was owning this property was on Second Kind show. He was asked that question. He lied blatantly to the Liberian people. It resurfaced, I think, a day or two ago. Now, here's my question for your two guests tonight. I have two questions for them. The first question is, at what point did the president get to know that Smith-Tobe carried the information, and who coordinated this information with Smith? Because we need to know where this information came from with this young man being involved with this entire property. Are they trying to cover up something? Are they lying about something? Another question is this, though. What else is Smith-Tobe lying about to the Liberian people that seditionists and other Liberians have been believing that we do not know about? Because he speaks directly for the president and from the president's office. And every time he mounts the topic, that means directly or indirectly we are hearing from within the president's circle and the president's office. What else has he been lying about that we don't know about? So I just want, if my two brothers can address those questions, I think it will do us justice. Thank you so much, Mr. Garley.
Thank you. Again, one last caller, and then we can go back to you. We have this 215 number, 268-4750. Tell us your name and where you call from.
My name is Mark, and I call from Philadelphia.
Go ahead, make your point. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for affording me the opportunity to air my view. I really got prepared to call tonight when I heard your two studio guests or your panelists trying to tell us or suggest to us that this matter is a family matter, and as such, we should move on. I found those statements very appalling. For those two brothers to tell us that, this is just a family matter, Smith-Tobe is just like any of us, and as such, every one of us, we are all liable to errors. So as such, we should move on. That is not true. Smith-Tobe is not just an ordinary person. He works for the president. He works for President Weah. And whatsoever he posts out there has weight. He's speaking for President Weah. So when he's flip-flopping in times like these, it should be alarming. It should call for concern. And that is why we are concerned and not just waiting to let this thing go away like it's nothing, because it's affecting us. The president was elected, and inaugurated in January. In March, he started demolishing those buildings. or the property at 9th Street. We've been talking about this from the get-go, okay? And now it's coming to our suspicions are now being confirmed that this president is geared towards enriching himself and letting the poor Liberian people who confide, who put their trust in him, and letting them down. That is not something that we can just say, oh, let it go. It's a family matter. No, it is embarrassing.
Thank you.
Okay, it is very much embarrassing, and I am ashamed of both of you in studio tonight talking about let it go, it's family issue. That is shameful.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you, sir.
We want to go to Randy, and would you please unmute your phone and you can respond to the previous callers and to Smith's statement as well. You may go, please.
Thank you so much. Let me begin to where I started from listening, because I had a call that interrupted my video observation. So the gentleman who came out, I think Bade, he expressed himself, and I understand where he comes from, because when I was also looking at Ellen Johnson's administration, especially the trauma that she caused for some of us who grew up during the Dewey administration, and Ellen came to power and allowed her son, who had nothing and no idea of oil industry, broke down the cow. What Mr. Pade expressed, that people will be held accountable under the Weah administration. I don't know where he was, but I didn't get to hear him asking Ellen administration and her official, with all the tongues of all the documents. I never heard him say anything in regards to that. You know, if we want to set this course straight, if we want to have a balance being, the issue of having people taking responsibility and be held accountable should not only be limited to the Weah administration. There are a lot of things. Moreover, today is not electrified because Ellen Johnson said he was giving $12 million to electrify that city. Nobody said anything about it. The dilapidated roads we have in our country, Ellen carried out some project. Those roads are depreciation today. So I just want to address that issue with him, that when he wants to come here to blame just the current administration, this administration cannot be blamed now until it concludes its terms. Now, when you measure the totality of whatever money it takes outside or whatever money it generates from inside. Now, on the issue of Mr. Steve Bode, yes, my wife is a Liberian. We've been together since 1998 as a young man, and today I'm getting much older. Our older daughter is about to go to college. That tell you that I'm a very stable person in what I do. So I'm glad that he brought that up, and I have to contribute towards that. But when he come out to say that Smith Toby is a pathological liar, that's a very strong tone. I know his background. He's a psychologist, and so they use the jargon most often. But sometimes the applicability of the jargon are used in the wrong fashion. Smith Toby is a messenger of the president. There are times that miscommunication can be sent out. When Smith Toby come out there and you listen to the conversation between he and Julia J, Smith Toby is literally taking accountability for what he said, and to Steve's point, what we describe as dotting the I and crossing the T, and I will hold Smith accountable in our faction too, because if Smith had on the agenda to go out there and provide information to the public, I think it was incumbent upon him to reach out to his boss and say, hey, I have an open interview. These are issues I'm going to talk about. And I think he had done that with the information he came to buttress, I mean, to rectify, so to speak, he wouldn't have found himself in a situation today. Nevertheless, mistakes can be made. But when the mistakes are made, we should take accountability. I'm proud of Smith for one reason. He literally took accountability for what he said. How many people in the area administration? I never heard Robert say, I brought no car down, I hold myself accountable. Smith Toby did the right thing. So this government, no matter how we criticize this government, members of the government are premature they may be. Every day that comes, they are learning and learning and learning, and we might appreciate what they are doing. Is everything going to be 100% cool? No. Now, the last caller who is disappointed in us, I understand. He's disappointed because what he perceived in his mind are things that we're not bringing out here. And that's the mindset of many opposition, the way our minds are programmed, especially the opposition, the way we want to craft things, we want to use the cookie cutter to program Mr. Weir to do things is quite different. What do I mean? The way your mind perceives the president to conduct things will not be done based on how he perceives things. So we got to be careful how we just take the cookie cutter and just want to cut things. The president and his family, they have their internal ranking. When Mr. Trump took office, he was asked to turn over his property to his children. And it became a household hula baloo. Wherever it ends, that's fine. But one thing I know, that property, when Mr. Weir was playing active soccer, he bought that property, and we all saw him building a house over. Some of us condemned the structure of the house because it didn't represent the quality of individual he was at that time as a soccer player. Now, if he decided to break down that structure, Mr. Garley, and come up with a new structure, and in his mind say, you know what, I have kids. This is my country. And I decided to give that property. I listened to Steve Body saying he was on Sekou Corner show. What Sekou Corner failed to do, and I just showed to some limitation of being just a freelance journalist, if Smith Tobe comes out and said to me, if I was Sekou Corner, that property is given to its own by Timothy Weir, I would say, you know what? Do you have any documentation, Smith, to give to me that the property is indeed belonging to Timothy? Or is the president giving that property to him as a gift? Now, if Smith come back and say, Timothy say he don't want the property, is Timothy returning the property back to his father based on the legal exchange? Or was it a gift given to him? These unknown factors, we don't know. But what we do know are just the basic information about Smith Tobe coming back and saying, oh, I want to retry what I said because I just got an updated information. So we have to be very careful how we analyze these things, and we must analyze this thing with detail and resources.
So Randy, do you think, before I bring in Joel, do you think it's time for Smith Tobe to step aside? Listen, I know you're going to come in. Around the June 6 protest, Smith Tobe was on national radio stations saying that the COP was dishing out $3,000 to people, $5 a year, $10 a year, just to take to the streets. And he also came on and said the French president was going to be in Liberia until the information minister, Eugene Lang Nangwe, came out and said it's just a mere gossip. No French minister or French president is coming to Liberia. Today, he's telling us that he heard something within the circle of the president. He's one of the closest people to the president. Don't you think it's time for him to step aside? Smith is a journalist. He can make his own money outside of the government. But this young man continue to embarrass himself, and it makes it bad for him within the profession.
I think, in my opinion, and I will just piggyback on Mr. Pride, he spoke about integrity, but he don't want to expand on that tonight. So to answer your question, I will speak on the platform of integrity. Look, this government is filled with a lot of young people, and we must appreciate the mistake the young people are making. And that's the reason why you, Ashford, decided to bring us out on your platform. And I must appreciate you for that, because you feel that the other side should be heard by your audience, so that after tonight, they can judge us based on what we are going to say and what I'm saying right now. Smith Tobe has made a series of mistakes. Well, that is up to whoever is responsible for Smith Tobe. If I were managing Smith Tobe, everything that you mentioned, I will investigate and measure Smith Tobe error versus his correction, and determine what are his strengths, what are his weaknesses, and opportunity to improve, and what threat does he poses out there and he go out there. What can I do to make Smith Tobe better? Because if we start to fire everybody, actually, when you first started your profession, I'm sure you didn't get in there as a perfect person. There were people who mentor you, who guide you through the process. So as early as it may be, I think if I were boss of Smith Tobe, I would begin to look for a way to perfect his skills, to make sure that his eye is always dotted, T always crossed before he go out there. If there's any communication, like you said, in the orbiter of the president, whether Smith, I believe, is most close to that orbiter of the president, but what Smith also need to hold himself accountable as someone who is responsible to put information out there, is for him to take a lesson learned from what we're discussing tonight, to always make sure that you trust sources for verify. In the case of the president, we don't know. There are times that the president will speak to his son overnight, and it is not incumbent upon the president to tell Smith Toby right after that discussion or the next day forward. But if Smith Toby is going to speak on an issue, what I would describe as a rare meat issue, because right now it's a rare meat issue that everybody trying to put this meat on this bone, I would suggest to Smith Toby and to everyone, because everyone who are criticizing Smith right now, they think they are perfect. But when the time comes to start to make error and order try to check, fact check them, that when it will become defensive. But this is a lesson learned for every one of us. I would say he should remain, but he should be given some level of guidance. I would say Smith Toby, the president, and everyone around the president should take the lesson learned that the communication before you get out there, it should be measured.
Okay, we're going to go to Joel, and then we'll go back to the telephone line. We'll have 3 people on the telephone right now waiting to join in. Joel, welcome back.
Well, thank you. Okay, I listened to Pade. I thought Pade had, he didn't address the Smith issue. He called it tragedy, what have you. Listen, when we say that Toby made a mistake and he comes out and apologized and we should move forward, we are not excusing his mistakes. First of all, we have to know there's a level. The presidency has level. A deputy secretary is not chief of staff to say he's worked so close to the president. He's a deputy press secretary. He's not the chief of staff to say he sit in the president's circle and to hear what the president says. It was not a direct message. According to him, he took hearsay and went on national TV. It's his responsibility. He probably got queried by when he got there and got back on to change the story, because he was wrong from the first place to take hearsay, not from the president. He admitted he heard people talking, and he brought that out. And he came back and said, yeah, he was wrong for doing that, and he has caused some misconceptions here of the whole thing. But are we talking about the ownership of the property or something else? Because that property, I think the ownership has been known. What are we talking? Even if Tim owned it, what is the problem here? Because there has to be something to own your father's property. It has to be something else. What is it that really concerns people? Is it that because the work is being done on it right now in the wake of the COVID? If that's the case, then yeah, maybe you got some point there. But what's about the ownership that is so much of a problem from a son to a father? Are we making a mountain out of a molehill yet? What is that? What is the problem that we're having? I said Toby made a mistake, and as Randy said, yes, it's not a matter of just firing ourselves to making people better. We can train him. He can learn from this mistake, yes. But he made a mistake. He came back on the radio, yes. And maybe there's cause for people to have different views and think otherwise. But what is the damage here? I'm confused here. What is the biggest problem here? With the property, yeah. Was it ever for somebody? It was the ownership, what has always been the we us. It is not, I don't think it's the ownership. So if people have underlying reason why you're mad, to say why he's building this at this time, maybe that's a different thing we can discuss. But let's not make a big thing about the ownership, because that is not the issue. Now, the other caller is saying that they are ashamed of us or what have you. I am not ashamed of that caller to be in the opposition. I am not ashamed of it. As a matter of fact, I encourage it to be there. But you see, as the American ambassador told us, don't just criticize, come with ideas. It's easy to criticize everything that has we are name on it. And you criticize it and what have you. This government has made some mistakes. It's not been perfect. But I don't see this particular thing that's going on right about the ownership to be an issue of concern in the midst of COVID-19 in Liberia. I don't see it as a place where opposition will pick. You got to pick your battles. What are we arguing about here? The ownership of the we are property, whether it's his son, whether it was given to his son or not. I think it's trivial. I think because in Liberia, it's the pettiness of our politics that plagues us. We don't know how to pick our battles yet, because I don't see, if you're mad that he's building right now and the project is going on in the midst of this, let's talk. Maybe you have a point there. Maybe you have a point. Then we can talk about that. But the ownership, I don't see what's the big ooh la la on that.
Okay, hold on.
And then to ask the Steve Boley's issue here, I'm not going to call this man a pathological liar. I'm not going to call him a pathological liar. He made a mistake. He came online and corrected it. Let us understand the levels. This man is not like McGill speaking. It's not like McGill speaking. There's the level. He's the deputy secretary. He's not always in the circle of the president.
Joy, do you honestly believe that Smith took upon himself to come to the media to say that this property is owned by the son of the president and not the president? Do you believe that?
Well, he said he heard it. He didn't take it upon himself to say he heard it from someone, not from the president. Not from the president.
He heard it from within the circle of the president.
Yeah, so you don't take ESA. You don't take ESA to discuss family matter.
Okay, hold on, Joel. Yeah, is it?
But Mr. Garley, can I just interject?
Interject for 2 minutes, please, because we got a lot of callers.
Yeah, well, I know what journalism is. I've taught it.
Okay.
I know what it means ethically when one speaks. I know the responsibility of a deputy secretary to a president of a nation who doesn't speak cluelessly. So, look, I respectfully disagree with the two gentlemen in studios. Liberia has a vast universe in terms of its diaspora experiences. So let it not sit in the studios to try to, bag what is wrong.
Okay.
The truth crushed to the world will rise again.
Excuse me, sir. He interjected, yes. So let me answer him.
Okay, thank you, Zizi.
You can't monopolize what you're talking about in Liberia. You have your views, we have ours. But if it's to be a matter of right and wrong, that's our problem. You want to be right and consider us wrong to be here. The deputy inspector is not, there's a level between that before you get to the president. The man said he heard it. If we want to take ESA to be, this is the president telling him to do this, he already told you. What proof do we have yet that he got this message from the president? Maybe when the president heard that on the radio, got bad and said, what kind of nonsense is that? Or that I give this property, this is Tim's property. Go and correct that. A corrective measure we're taking. Let us accept that.
Thank you, Joel. 763-283-0450. Tell us your name.
Thank you very much, Ashford, for the show. And then thank you for the work you've been doing for the Liberian people. It bothers my mind that the behavior of Rick Bobby. I would just like to go back. Last year, he missed the tape where he talked about the president property, that the president property that is owned by his son. So to come back to say that he erred, he might err, but he should have done his research from that. How can such person with his position make similar statement like that twice? And not hearing that, you're also playing some of the misstatement he has made. Let's go back to the issue of the 16 billion and the 25 million. You see that this government, the inconsistent that has characterized this government is obvious. So are they telling me that most of them don't do their research before coming to inform the Liberian people it comes to information?
Thank you, sir.
So that's my question. I want you to just give to those two gentlemen in the studio. Thank you, bro.
Thank you. 302. I believe this caller is from Delaware. Tell us your name and what you.
Yes, my name is Amos.
Amos, welcome to the show.
I was listening to you. I have, just a few points. Now, one thing I want to say here is that I don't want to levy the blame on what's his name? The assistant,
Smith Tobey.
the guy, Smith Toby. No, Smith Toby has to go by what he's told. All right, so I would blame you should level the blame on Smith Toby. Don't bring here is that let's get to a quick look. President Weah is a president of Liberia. Okay, so his property, whatever he owns, people have to know, what he owns, what is his and what is his son's. All right. He's trying to walk the chalk line, but the truth has to be told. What the president owns and what he does not own, because let's suppose that the president is corrupt. I just for argument's sake, the president is corrupt. And then in the end, say another regime comes on, or another president comes on, another president comes on, and then finds out that President Weah is corrupt. They do with the property that he owns. So, look, the legalities, the nitty-gritties that will have to dive into. So, can I just dismiss if Smith Toby comes in and say, oh, this is President Weah's property. Oh, no, there's not just President Weah's property, and they dismiss it. No.
Thank you.
No, you can't dismiss it because if President Weah is corrupt, when another president comes on, they can legally, investigate how President Weah, got his all of his properties.
Thank you, sir.
And all of that.
Thank
It's
you.
not something to be dismissed of.
Thank you so much. Okay, 437-346-8851. Tell us your name.
Hello.
Hello. How you doing?
437.
Hello.
I'm
Hello?
calling the telephone
Hello?
number that starts with a 437 number. Is that your number?
Is that
No,
me,
no.
Ashford?
Okay, please speak.
Ashford, how you doing? It's SB from Canada, Toronto, Canada. How you doing, my brother?
Hey, my man, welcome to the show. It's been a long time.
I know. Thank you very much. How you doing?
Good, good. Go ahead, make your point. 2 minutes, please.
Good. Thank you. First, I want to say thanks for having me on the show. To the two gentlemen on the show, I didn't get the chance to start the show from the get. I was doing some other things, but just from the indication that I'm getting based on the feedback that have been provided. First, I would like to say is that this is not about who owns the property. Clearly, we know that the president owns the property, and I know it for a fact because I was when I was in Liberia back then playing for Duco Defender. He invited my team to play in that team very compound. He had a one-day tournament, and my team, we went there, we played. I think I was about 11, 12 years old at the time. So I know he owns the property. That's his property. The things here that bother me the most, Ashford, and it's like we have not learned, as Liberians over the years, over the decade, it's about being accountable. I had a conversation with you a few weeks ago, and we were talking about accountability, Ashford.
That's right.
In Rwanda,
Mhm.
when this coronavirus pandemic was becoming what it is today, President Kagame asked his health minister to provide detailed information on test kits that were available in Rwanda. You can go and look it up. The health minister deliberately provided false information. Now, why he did that, I don't know. And because President Kagame feels that he owes his citizens some level of accountability, therefore, that level of accountability must be shown to those who are part of government. What did he do? He fired his health minister because the message that was sent was that we owe our citizens the due diligence to make sure that we are serving them so that our country can be what we want it to be. We have yet to see that happen in Liberia. And time again, we have gentlemen like these two, with all due respect, I think one of them is Randy, and I didn't get the other gentleman's name, who will see the wrongdoing. Instead of coming out and say, you know what? Yes, I support the president, or yes, I'm a Civician, or whatever the case may be. But this was wrong.
Thank you.
It was unethical.
Thank you,
You know, it does not align with what we want to accomplish in Liberia. We will come on air, on national TV, on national radio, and make up lies and try to cover up for things that were deliberately done to bring a negative effect on our country and on our people. And we've seen this happen over and over again. When will people stand up for the truth and start holding themselves accountable? If you don't hold yourself accountable, how do you expect your leaders to hold themselves accountable?
Thank you.
What Smith Tobin did was not, no, I'm sorry, what he did was not on his own. There is no way with his position in the government, he goes on national radio or on a second kind of show or on your show to talk about properties, especially when it involves the president, and the president is not aware of it. So this whole thing was a cover-up. They have to take accountable. This was an opportunity for the president to come out and say, you know what? Unlike the past administration, we made a mistake that was deliberate. We're going to own up to it in front of the Liberian people, and we're going to try to make it right.
Thank you, SB.
I'm sick and tired of you guys coming on talking about, when the Ellen government did this, who said? Nobody cares about the Ellen government. Why? Because it's past and gone. The Liberian people are not benefiting from the Ellen government. For those of you who are physicians, who support George Weah and his administration, it's about time you start showing the Liberian people what you were about, not what the Ellen government was about.
Thank you,
SB.
SB. Thank you.
It's a damn shame.
Thank you, sir. You know, and for those of you who just write in, I beg you, please be respectful. Stop the profanity. Hippie, CC hippie, please stop the profanity. You know, for a lady, you shouldn't be using those words, you know. And for the other gentleman who said I did not do my audience justice tonight, I invited those on the other side of the aisle for reasons best known to themselves. They decided not to show up. At the same time, we have the telephone lines open here tonight and ask this gentleman any question that you want to ask them. Without that, I want to bring in Mr. Alfonso Zion Soul. Hello, Alfonso.
Hello. Okay.
Yes, Mr. Soul, go ahead.
Is that me, Ashford?
Yes, yeah, you're the one. After that, then the lady will come in. You're in queue first.
Oh, okay. Okay, well, Ashford,
man,
thank you.
Please hold on a minute, man.
Oh, you wanted later to go? I think she's in the ring already.
Hello? Hello?
Hello?
All right, just listen for your number. He's going to call your number.
I'm going to call your number, man.
Oh, okay.
He's in queue. That's why.
So, am I the one speaking now?
Yeah, Alfonso, go ahead, please.
Yeah, okay. Well, I thank you for the show, and I thank you for, re-emphasizing that, sometimes there's no judgment. But let us get to the issue. It is not a good thing. And I want all of us to note, including the guests in studio, thank you for coming out. And we know exactly that when you are in the front line to defend the national government. But this statement by Mr. Tobe today, it's damaging. It reminds me about the days of the civil crisis when Dr. Amos Bono was asked about Reuben White as what I was part of ECOWAS plan to eliminate Samuel Doe, and then he said yes, and later on to walk back. But look, Alpha, here is the thing. Like the other guest said, it's a hearsay. Smith Tobe is one of those that speaks for the president of the Republic of Liberia. It is inexcusable. It is indefensible. Yes, we know the sort of situation these people that speak for national leaders, we know the situation they find themselves in. But we who are those who try to do the better work, hey, you've got to come with some sort of passion to that is all about the country. I know, the bottom line of it in terms of what he said and how they're pushing. But that's not the first time. You know that he said on Gibson's show. So why will you even first of all speak on something that you have a little less information? Who put finger in your throat? And you know very well, whatever you say, the public going to hold you unaccountable. So now he has lied. What would be the actions of the president? What would be the action of the president? We saw the other day Samuel Woozy were fired because of almost similar things. He said things and things that were published in his newspaper and stuff like that. I feel bad for him. Because it is quite damaging. And I think the government should come clean. And this is why we are saying to wrap up, the more people that speaks for this government, to the extent that anybody wake up and see that they are so loyalist to the president, it has created a problem. And that's some of the things. And you're quite correct that he's not a chief of staff, but remember, he keeps records. So even if he's asked a question, he's a journalist, he knows that. If he asks a question, there's a way that you can pivot for the question, but to be so definitive, not the first time, not the second time, is troubling. I'm not sure how well he's doing tonight. Thank you so much, Ashford.
Thank you, Defonso. Well, 612 number 703-9634.
Hello?
Yeah, tell us your name.
Okay.
612?
Yeah, hi. Hi, how you doing?
Good.
Yeah, no, that is not your number. That's my number.
Okay, let it.
Oh, I thought it was my number. Sorry.
Okay, go ahead. 612, please.
All right.
You are next, man.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. My name is Ben, and I'm calling from Minnesota. I don't know. I'm seeing it from a different point, even though I seem to agree with most of the other callers, because I'm looking at the crime. What is the crime here? Of if a father giving his property to his son, that would not constitute a crime. What I want us to do, what I want us to Liberian people to focus on, we know this government is so bad. We need to focus on the technicality. This man's son is not, he already had another citizenship. So therefore, he cannot own property in that country. That is the technicality we should be going after. But the idea of father transferring his property to his son, I don't see any problem with that. While it is true that an underlying lie that the president did give caused us to ask other questions. So what are those other questions? Is there anything else we need to investigate? Probably there is something somewhere. So if there's any other thing somewhere, those who have it, let them bring it up so we can go after that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we're gonna take this lady and then go back in studio with this jump. Yeah, hello, ma'am. Welcome to the show.
It's me?
Yeah, it's you now.
I'm on now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, good afternoon, Ashford, and I'm happy to see you this. My name is T. I'm calling from New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
And my thing is, there's two things I have to say. One is a question to Mr. Dapper. I think his name.
I don't know if you have something over your mouth, but I don't know if you have something over your mouth. We can't clearly hear what you're saying.
Oh, I have my mouth. Let me take it off. My question is to Mr. Dapper, right?
Mm-hmm.
He talked about alien government since Robert Lee, Rob, Luca, and nobody ever went after her brought into justice, right?
Mm-hmm.
Joria got there as a president. Why then Joria prosecute them to bring them to justice for everybody to know what they did? Number one. Number two, Smith said that Joria owned the property and he gave it to the property was owned by his son. As a leader, when you hear something in gossip or in the crowd, as a president of a country, you don't just run with that information and tell the public without clarifying it, because that's the president you're talking about. So Smith didn't know what he was talking about. I personally see it's not no gossip. It what was told to him that he should tell the Liberian people, because as usual, they always think the Liberian people are so stupid. They will fall for everything. They knew what they were doing when they brought that message out. They knew what they were saying, and you see, like coming back to retract his statement, the Liberian people say, "Oh, you know how people can do things, and we forgive him." But not everything that they're doing. Those are my two things I have to say. Good night. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to go back into studio now and begin with Mr. Doppel, Randy.
Yes, Ashford, can you hear me? I just unmuted myself. Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, and do you also know that Smith Toby is part of the Fresh family? So I mean, he's connected. He's closely involved when it comes to the family. Do you know that?
Yeah, but we also need to understand the complexity of African First family. It's not a Gerald Kushner with the Trump family that get first-hand information based on his position. And I will side with my colleagues here with me that when you talk about the different orbiter around the president, why it is true that Smith married to the president cousin does not give him some classified information that he might be privileged to. So we need to understand that condition. All right. So Smith Toby is part of the first family, but ultimately we are say, Dad, I want to talk to you. Smith Toby will step aside. That's father to son. So we have to differentiate the levels or the different levels of first family. So remember, Smith is coming from outside. He's now a biological first family. So if you look at that from that context, Smith will stand no chance to say he's part of the first family, in my opinion. So I got that message, but let me pick it back. I mean, let me start from bottom to top. The lady from New Jersey. I love New Jersey. That's where I got my first associate degree, and I love working in Jersey. And thanks for her representing New Jersey today. She asked about the fact that why President Weah isn't going after the press. I mean, after Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. And as you introduced me earlier from the beginning of the show, you said this is Randy who went toe to toe with the president. And many that don't know me, thank you very much, Mr. Ashford, to mention that. And I think those who are saying all type of things because they see my face here or somewhere else, they don't know what Randy represents. Yes, I stood against the president because when I campaigned, I asked that if the president doesn't do the right thing, I will come back here and criticize the president. Steve Bode is my witness. I did that for 1 year, 6 months. I lost friends. I gained friends. They were all part of diversity. When you diverse, you lose friends, you gain new friends. The president is not doing the right thing. And I have to go back to what I said. If he doesn't do the right thing, I will come back here. If he does, I will also come back here. Which is why in the second phase of my responsibility to the people of Liberia is to come here now and speak the truth. And the truth has to do with the fact that the president had turned the curve or doing the right thing. But I think with the Liberian people, particularly those from the other side who Kennedy didn't get the opportunity to be president today, they are not looking at measuring progress because success can be accomplished through measuring progress. The progression of the president is heading in the right direction. We're seeing landscape, we're seeing structure changes, not only with his home, but we're seeing a lot of structure changes, personnel changes, financial changes, and the president is also taking responsibility for what he's doing. So if Ellen Johnson said we did the wrong thing, I have my time with President Weah. Why can we, aside from the president stepping down $16 million, why can the Liberian people call their lawmakers? Because we have a democratic country, right? Call your lawmaker. Just how you in the United States here. Chris Smith is from New Jersey. Call your lawmaker in Liberia. Call your family member. Say, look, I want you to call your local lawmaker and let him go after Ellen. I'm one of the person who want to make sure that Ellen go to jail. But it's a democratic country. If the president cannot do it, we have representatives that can do that. Then let me come to Alfonso's. Alfonso talk about technicality. Yes, I respect the fact as a technicality play a role. As an engineer, our key thing is not to have structure failure or design failure. That's why we look at process control. He is a journalist, but when he to come out here and say, oh, Smith will be lying, no, it was miscommunication, Brother Alfonso. There are times that you think information and leave that information in your memory. Smith, Toby, many of you say from the past, have gone on different shows and said the property on 9th Street is owned by Timothy Weah, son of the president. But not one journalist ever asked, by what means this property is owned by this young man? So Smith Toby can go beyond the phrase of the property is owned by the son. Nobody. And I'm asking that question. Was it something the president said and Smith Toby said, Mr. President, yeah, are you giving it to him as a gift? Or are you turning it over to him through some legal means? So that way when I get out there, I can be able to represent what I'm going to say. If Smith Toby didn't ask that question, and we want to come and judge Smith Toby, and we ourselves not going through the technical aspect of the question, then we do have a problem. 473, the brother from Canada, he spoke about ownership, and I spoke about accountability. All right. I understand his condition. I mean, I feel his pain about holding people accountable. But he talked about Ellen. We should forget about Ellen. You know why we have all these presidents today? My brother, I forgot it. The reason our country is not connected, 73 years old country. Because all the leaders that really disenchanted our remaining counties for all the time they were serving as president. Do you know why we don't have quality drinking water in our country? Do you know why we don't have road connectivity? Even though we are 172 years old. Because we did not look at the failure of these people from the past to move our country forward. But on the other hand, these people here, and where we live today, these people are doing extremely well for those of us who came here. Because they built for us a path that will make us to be better. So for him to say, let's forget about Ellie, when Ellie took $12 million from the Norwegian government, and today President Weah is on a payment plan to pay the Norwegian government. I wish I had taken his life saving account, and he's now going to be 16, 17, 18 years old to work again. And he will say, forget about Randy, let's live our life. We must hold past government accountable for what they do. And then the guy who called from Delaware, Amos said no blame on Toby. Yes, I will agree with Amos on that, because Toby only get information and bring it out there. But I think where I will also disagree with Toby also, Toby need to trust sources, but he must always verify. Always verify. And here, people, guys are saying we're not going after Toby. I went after Toby so many times, and I'm going to go after him tonight. I would like to see Toby verifying information. And I think also I would suggest that Toby be quarantined, not physically, but with regard to information dissemination out there. He should be in some type of quarantine to make sure that his superior make sure that whenever he's going out there, sensitive information that could lead to what we found ourselves today, because he did not get to the bottom of what he wanted to know. Smith Toby had the information that the president turned the property over. If that process had been reversed, and President, we are reversing property back to himself, it is not unique. Many are here today. Let's admit, our fathers, our parents left land for us in the countryside. Some of us are so afraid to go back to Liberia to claim the land because we are afraid. And many times we would say, let them take that land. I ain't got nothing to do with it. In fact, I will give it to them. Let them take it. Does that mean that you lying, that you own our land before, but you give it back? Let's think about that. And then 702, and I'm coming to the end now. 702, all right, the first owner, he wanted me to talk about do your research. Smith Toby, I'll be honest with you, they didn't do a research on the reverse issue of letting the public know that the property was owned. But what Smith Toby managed to do is to come back and say, you know what, the information I had given in the past, it had changed, but I didn't get it before I went on OKFM. So I have to go back to OKFM to rectify the information. What is so wrong that when you made an error based on the information process has changed, or the subject of the information has changed, are you guys now telling us that if I say I'm J. Randy from River G, even though I used to say I'm from Grand G, now Grand G has split from River G, and on my birth certificate it has Grand G. So should I come by and say, oh, I'm from River G, and oh, Randy, you lie, you're not from River G, because your birth certificate says that. Mistake can be made, but it must be corrected for us to show that we are very key in making sure that the right information go out there. So I would like to say, fellow Liberians, let this be a lesson learned from us. So that's all I have to say in regards to the previous quarter. And I must commend them for the opportunity that they continue to provide on your show. Back to you. Oh, God, thank you for the time.
Joel, you comment. You one more call there, then you guys give your closing statement. Go ahead.
Okay, so I don't understand. I come back to this whole thing here about the ownership. First of all, even if they were led that way, if this guy had not come back and the person it was owned by Timothy, what was the problem? What would be the problem here? Somebody just said, oh, he can't own property in Liberia because he's in America. I thought people with Negro descent can own property in Liberia. So what is, that's what I'm trying to figure out. Even if we own that, since we want to make it an issue, what is the illegality there? What's the illegality? Even if Timothy owned the property, what is the illegality? Secondly, we are quarreling with a man who came back and admitted wrong. Why are we quarreling with that? He said I was wrong and he corrected it. Move forward. Yeah, I'm not going to go because I think Randy has said most of the things. But one of the things I want to say here on this show tonight is this. Every time you're sitting there talking here, people come here and say, oh, what happened with the $60 million that happened? This president, George Weah, when the money came out from the $16 billion, he got an independent company to do a report. Yes, what that company said. The quote analysis of the delivery of documentation provided by the Central Bank of Liberia confirms that new bank notes totaling $15.5 billion were received. Okay, were received. And there's no allegation, a quote from no allegations concerning regarding the overall, however, quote does not raise, quote from no information to support allegations that a container of banknotes went missing. However, quote raised concerns regarding the overall accuracy of completeness of CBL's internal records. So when we're talking about money getting missing, Liberians must be able to go back and read the report. Before every time you talk with somebody, oh, they stole $16 billion. They stole $16 billion. Educated people who has a way to go there and read the report. Read the report. And the people who were in charge, who the report blame, were early appointees. $40 million got busy from local. What did Ellen do? She said, I'm responsible for it. She didn't go get an independent report to do that. Yet we sit there and don't recognize the fiscal discipline of the prudence that he took on that 60 million, and we're trying to discredit everything he does. So let's go to that report, and it's time to put that $16 billion away, because the report that it never went missing. Okay, when people keep coming on the show, so it went missing. That's a fallacy. That's a fallacy. Second, the last layer, let me just say here, everybody in Liberia has a right to a position. I'm not going to sit here, I'm one of those who will not equivocate, sit there and do false equivalence with Ellen and do that. But if we thought Ellen Johnson Sirleaf delivered for Liberia, there's only one question I have to ask. Why UP could not run on their own record? Why UP cannot? These people who sitting out here every little nitpicking everything, they sat supinely and chaired Madam Sirleaf to Liberia at Liberia expense.
Well, thank you, Joel. I want to go to Europe, London, I believe, and Mr. Joseph Cheer is on the line from London. Joseph, hello and welcome to the show. Thank you, Joel. I want to go to Europe, London, I believe, and Mr. Joseph Cheer is on the line from London. Joseph, hello and welcome to the show.
Yeah. How you doing, Mr. Garley?
Go ahead.
Thanks for having me on your program. I've been following your program since your notification came on my system. Yeah. We got with the topic that you guys are discussing, which is on the Timothy Weah or property on George Weah, and then with the two guests, with Mr. Rennie, I listened to Mr. Rennie trying to come up with a storyboard, all the question that people asking and the response from Mr. Rennie is almost like a man remind me when you're sitting into a training room and the supervisor is there and trying to preach to you guys to tell you the protocol of the job, what you need to do to the job, how you need to do, what you need to do, how you need to colors your own or staff member to patronizing, to always supporting if he's doing wrong. That is the type of question that Mr. Randy is trying to. He's not trying to come up with the actual facts to say, look, this is what happened, but he's trying to put it in the African context to say, no, this is not Europe or America, but this is the African saying that things have to be secreted. But in a very classical area where you're saying Mr. Toby is completed a sign with President Weah. These are top diplomat government officials. So when they trying to come out with a story, and when I listen to the audio there, Mr. Toby, it just seems to me that Mr. Toby he's a press secretary, deputy press secretary, but like most of the facts news he come out with all the time online to tell Liberian people are all from gossip. It's like he's not into the main zone to be able to get the actual story from the main people and come out to speak to them. Because when you listen to that audio, he said that he got it from sources around. And this is the same way that Mr. Eugene Fagon too come on his show, on his program. He never get a fact story. He always get bit and pieces and come and tell the Liberian people and bring a bombshell again or this confident within the Liberian society. So when it comes down to the property stuff, look, Ashford, I think if you look down back into most of the video of President George Manawia, President George Manawia, he himself, a lot of people could really take notice of that. President George Manawia, he himself came on one of these shows. It was an international journalist, I think international or national journalist. Someone interviewed President George Manawia. That tape is still around. President George Manawia asked President George Manawia about that same property. And Mr. George Manawia said, yes, that property, yes, was for him. But he took the property, he turned the property over to his son because his son was the person to run that property. I think his wife was trying to administer all the work at that property. So there is not something that Mr. Smith-Toby really understood what he was saying. It just because it went back when what happened is when the news break out and that information went out on Mr. Costa's show, it was very horrible and probably it got down to President Weah's son. And then when it got to the little boy, he's a footballer. He's an American. And every American employee in America, once you play in America or you work in America in any industry, you need to declare your foreign assets or your local assets. So probably when that information came out, that little boy got very, very afraid of his reputation, of his finance, his income, and he believed that I don't know, the American custom or custom would be able to investigate him on his private assets that he have in Liberia. Why he never declared it. So all these things is a bush or a bush. So the little kid, all these things that bringing all this noise around is the kid too is getting afraid because his name is dragging into a property that he do not have access to.
Thank you, Joseph. Thank you so much. Just 30 seconds, just conclude your statement.
Yeah. So that's what I try to. That's what I want to. I want to make this very, very clear on your program that Mr. Toby never made a mistake. It was never a mistake. This story was the story that came from the mouth of President George Manawia. Because I myself, I am a talk show host, and I've watched every videos that come out. This story was made by President George Manawia that the property was turned over to his son to develop that property. He got nothing to do with that property. So Mr. Toby never changed the tone. It was just under some pressure that he had to turn, but he understood what he said to the Liberian people.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And this other caller, I believe he's from somewhere in Europe. He's been very persistent. Hello, caller. Tell us your name.
Yeah. Hi, Mr. Garley. How are you, sir?
Good. What is your name?
I'm Samuel, calling from China. Always follow your show and admire you a lot.
Thank you, Sam. We're all the time now. Just within 1 minute, ask your question, and then we can.
Yeah, Mr. Garley, I just want to. You see the brother Randy. I admire brother Randy a lot, but to hear brother Randy coming out with some defense regarding this whole situation, it breaks me down. I admire Brother Randy a lot for the work that he's carrying on in Liberia with some farming activities and other stuff like that. He doesn't know me. I've written him so many times. I'm Samuel Tamagwe, calling from China, supporter of Darius DeLong. Now let's get to the issue. Why is this government? Why this government refuse to audit this helling regime? That's the first question. Number two, why is this present government going around breaking properties and rebuilding? Secondly, with this kind of a situation that we find ourselves in, no masks in the country, no medical or equipments. Doctors are not being paid. Why are these things going on? And Brother Randy, you just talked about integrity, which of course I love you for that. But to see you defending the Smith Toby man who criticized this Jawia guy, but today he's speaking for Jawia in this kind of a way, I think it breaks a lot of Liberian people down. Even journalists, can you imagine that journalists are selling their soul to lies, looking at wrongs and not speaking of the fight? Where is the integrity? I don't know the other brother name very well, Mr. Garley. The brother who is talking about central bank or 16 billion. Look, everything under this government is completely wrong. If this government, this present government came with integrity, they will begin to audit. You know, the problem is about let leave it. That's why giving Liberia problem today. So I wanted to answer this question. Why this government, this present government, refused to audit the Helen Joseph Sirleaf government to even go down to the child state of government? Because if they could hold audit this past regime, then they could get down to even child state on some corruption that even went above.
Thank you.
So I wanted to make some emphasis on that. And I stand with Mr. Randy to talk about integrity more and accountability from this government, because this government, one day, they will have to give their own accountability. They're not going to be president forever and ever. So let them answer my question. Thank you, Mr. Garley.
Thank you. And Randy will come in. We are completely out of time, but we're just going to give some bonus minutes for you guys to come in. But Randy, just before you come in, the president said this morning, quote, that he is the most successful president in the history of Liberia, given the time he came in as compared to previous presidents. Number one. Number two, I was following your podcast. I believe it was a week or so ago when you said on your podcast that Timothy Weir donated $2 million United States dollars to the Liberian government. And I wrote on your podcast, say, if this is true, then it is worth talking about. We never heard from you ever since. What do you know?
Yeah, so let me start from the bottom to the top. I think you might want to listen to that again, because I said allegedly. Yeah, that was a key word that I used to quantify that. I said,
I did not hear.
I said, I'm hearing allegedly that Tim Weir has given $2 million towards the fight against the COVID-19. I did not just openly declare or say that he gave that. I said allegedly. I'm looking forward to getting more detail. So I will suggest and recommend that you go back and listen to that again, please. I beg you. And then circle back with me, and then we can have a conversation.
Okay.
As far as the president saying he is the best president, look, if you look at the history of our country, if you look at how things have been so entangled with class system, this president in the history of our country, Ashford, you live in the dual era.
Mm-hmm.
Aside from Sam Jackson, who was the youngest.
Hold on a minute.
Are you speaking of me?
Yeah, go ahead, Randy. That was
Okay. Aside from Samuel Jackson, even though I go at him many times, he was considered as one of the youngest, if not Faravani, within the Samuel Doe administration when we were growing up. President, as president, we are seeing hopes being given to many young people. And I know many of us question their competent level, whether they are competent or not. At least he is setting a new page in our country that will give hope to the young people. That young people will look at themselves and say, you know what, I can remain in Liberia, because Liberia, according to Taros Dillon, is not a country that I will ever be deported from, even though I disagree with him on some condition. He's giving hope. And number two, he's changing landscape of our country. Ashford, I'll tell you this. There's a document, I subscribe to World Bank. A document was given to the Liberian government in 1964 to build a RIA highway and maintain that RIA highway. And that amount was $3,250,000 at that time. Many people, including Adolph Lauren, have died on our road. This president is coming to change things. You know, changes is very difficult to accept because when you live in an environment where you see things that you have done for 173 years, many people leave from America, visit Muscle County, and come back and say enjoy. When you have a leader who try to change that mindset, that kind of behavior, it become a taboo. It become a war. So I understand the resistance people getting. Why it's true that the president is defining his future today by saying, I'm the best president, we will not see it, especially when we're on the opposition side. But time will come that when his time is over, remember I said in the show, success, progress determines success. The progress he's making after his 12 years in office, when we measure these things, many of us will come back and start to say, you know what, it was early, it was this, it was that. Now, that said, let me come back to Brother Chia. You know, I'll piggyback on Brother Chia. Brother Chia, last comment he made, because I got 4 bullet points here for Brother Chia.
Okay, just before you go there, Randy, I beg, this caller has been very persistent. Let's take him, then we can conclude with you. I believe
okay, sure.
Councilor Jerome Verdier on the line. Hello.
Okay.
Hello?
Yeah, you're live on the radio, Councilor. Welcome to the show.
Oh, good evening, sir. Thank you for welcoming me to your show. A lot have been said, but when you mentioned the president declaring that he is the best president of Liberia, I thought to come in and make my comments in respect to that.
Go ahead, make your point.
But in respect to the first issue being discussed, Mr. Smith Toby works in the office of the president and is presumed to be very close to the president. 2 things could happen. He could have made a mistake, or he could have been speaking on behalf of the president. In executive authority, there is always someone to take the fall for the president. And so if Mr. Toby made a mistake, he now says that he is sorry for it, case closed. If he didn't make a mistake, he thought to speak on behalf of the president, or he was instructed to speak on behalf of the president, and he decided to take the fall for the president, so be it, case closed. But much time has been spent on it, and I think it wasn't necessary. The very person who came and made his declaration, he came back subsequently, and said, I was wrong what I said. The matter is closed. So I'd like to speak with respect to the president declaring that he is the best president of Liberia. I think such a statement was made unconsciously. One, the president has not completed his term, and all the presidents of Liberia can be evaluated on under different circumstances in the history of Liberia. First, we had the founding fathers who did their best to declare the country independent, and there are subsequent people who came before during the pre-modern and pre-Second World War era who preserved the state of Liberia. Also, they were threatened with death. Liberia neither fell into trusteeship on the issue of slavery came about. They did their best to preserve the country. President Tubman, who was the modern day president, perhaps maybe he had the longest tenure and perhaps he performed most dismally compared to other presidents. But that is a different era. In the modern era, we have President Tolbert, who was visionary, who did a lot of things to modernize the Liberian state. But at the moment, we have President Weah, who bears the standards of the country. So how do we evaluate the performance of the president? We know that as a public servant and the standard bearer of the country, you ought to preach, ought to practice what you preach. Has the president been practicing what he has been preaching? You have to do as you promised the Liberian people. Since coming to power, the last time I said, perhaps the Liberian people heard that or saw and observed that President said you didn't advocate for justice, you didn't do anything about justice. And Mr. Weir not being connected with the war, Liberians feel that, well, his advocacy and pronouncement for justice is a basis for helping to make him president. And it might have gone there. So did he keep his word and his promises to the Liberian people? He also said that he will fight corruption. He will give people cause to hope for a better Liberia. Are Liberians hoping for a better Liberia today? Has President Weir kept his promises? There are issues that are very much concerning to Liberian people. Okay? About honesty and upholding public integrity. About good governance. Has the 3-year reign of President Weir been one of public integrity and good governance? Has that happened? That's a question we all have to consider. And more than that, we hear persistently about corruption. Corruption takes away resources from development, from health. And we know that the health status of Liberia have not improved over the last 3 years. Infant mortality is either worse or at the same. The mortality of pregnant women remains the same. Fresh water is not all over the country. Today, because of the virus, people have to be carrying buckets around. So what is the measure of the president's success? Then more than that, Senator Prince Johnson has come up openly and defied our president that he can never ascribe to the war crimes recommendations of the TRC or as the Liberian people and international community are calling for. How much spine does the president have? Does the president consider that an achievement that one of his senators can tell you, I dare you, I defy you, you cannot do this? So much in terms of standards for our country that can be used to evaluate the president. But on what does the president stand to claim that he is the most successful president? I'm a Christian. I know that in Proverbs, the Bible said that when good people are in power, the people are happy. But when a wicked president, a wicked leader is in power, the people grieve, the people complain, the people cry, the people groan. Are there groanings in Liberia, or are Liberians very, very happy? That is something for us to think about in respect to what the president has said of himself. I know that the president came to power very early. He constructed a statue on behalf of himself. I'm not in Liberia, but it's my information that some people have gone to cover up the statue or have been chapping on the statue, and the statue is being ruined.
Well, that's
the reaction of citizens who are dissatisfied. Thank you very much, sir, for inviting me.
Thank you, Councilor Verdier. And with that, I just want to listen to you guys for your closing statements. We'll begin with Joel. Again, I want to say a big thank you to all of you, even though our other brothers on the other side at the last minute said they were extremely busy, they couldn't come up. But most of the callers there were engaging tonight against you people. So, Joel, your pardon comments, and then we'll go back.
First of all, the last caller, I thought there was a height of deception that I just heard. Okay. After I read me, because I wish there was a different show.
You can react and make.
Excuse me. So I'm reacting to it and make my statement.
Go ahead.
Yeah, because I thought it was talking about the TRC which you wrote. I mean, and blaming this president for orchestrating it when the past government took it and shelved it, and they all sat down. If you go and read what he wrote, he did not write or they did not make a prosecutorial document that the TRC report that he is talking about. And we can argue that on another time, on the merits of it. But I thought he was highly deceptive right there. Second thing was that let's qualify the president's statement of success. He didn't say he was the best president in the entire history. He said over the next for the first 24 months. And if I sit down here and catalog what he's done in the 8 months, like building houses in Grand Jita, in Sano, and building those roads, the feeder road in Joe community, Mark, Loking Town, Chuba Road, Kanta to Yekepa, red light to Coca-Cola factory, Banjo, Soul Clinic, Pipeline to Johnsonville, Dry Rest Market Road, Tinker Village, the road, the highway to Rower's Feed, pavement of almost every feeder road in rehab community, Cannonsville Town Hall to Simbaco, Fairground Road in Bicano, New Kutan Coastal Defense Project. Those things there, and you go back to the military hospital, the MPA headquarters, the New Redemption Hospital, 500 houses being built in Grand Creek County, the 100 plus purple houses built in Popo Beach. Those are things that when you look there in area, you can touch, you can feel. So, you know, when you talk about success, success is the way of is a degree of measuring one's excitement of what you're doing. It's not the finality. So we don't have to wait for his term to be over to determine his success. He quantified it in a 28-month period. And that's a longer place we can go and compare presidents in what they did in the first 24 months. I mean, so I couldn't say that his term is actually successful because he was not talking about his term. He was talking about the time in comparison to other people. And what would we expect him to say? You know, and he talked about Prince Johnson making comments. The president cannot stop Prince Johnson from making any comments. You know, to say Prince Johnson said it on Ellen that he will not abide by the TRC report. Nobody, because the TRC was a toothless bulldog. They took money and did nothing with the document. They did nothing to prosecute people. You take that document and carry it to court. There's not a prosecutorial document. So Verdier knows that. He knows that what they did over there was a kid glove for Ellen. They protected Ellen. Now that she's out of power, they come in to say, what we're doing about the TRC report, and let's get a war crime court. No, the president is not going to exercise his time yet to do other things on that. That's his prerogative. He would decide when he wants to do it. I thank you for the show. I will leave this here and say that this guy made a mistake. As I said, the only place I agree with Verdier is what I said earlier. The man said he said it, case closed. He works there. He's the same one who said it. He came back and said, case closed. Let's not make a mountain out of a molehill. That is done. And I thank you for your show. I thank you for the guests. I think they were encouraged. I want to say thank you to my brother Randy Dappo. I think we engaged, and it was a fine day. I just seen some people seem to be very deceptive, and we need to have another show. I hope that you can bring Verdier on to discuss the TRC report, and I will be even as a caller to call him up on the failure on that report and to give his teeth that it needed to bring the people to justice.
How about you, John? How about you, John? Verdier in a debate?
Huh?
How about you joining Verdier in a debate?
Well, that would be fine. That would be fine.
Thank you, Joel. Thank you as always, man.
Yes.
Pleasure having you guys on. Randy, you want to react to Councilor Verdi's comment, and then you can give an important statement. I want to thank all of you for taking up time tonight.
Yes, I have followed Mr. Verdier during the TRC when I was still in engineering school and working at the same time. I admire his start and approach to how he wanted to see our country turn a page, but unfortunately, Ellen did not give him the opportunity to really visualize what he perceived Liberia should have been. But along the way, is it okay now? Yeah. And eventually, along the way, Mr. Jerome came in and actually it makes me to look back on his character. But I admire how he categorized from the founding fathers to the midpoint of our administration, Tobo and Doe. But what Mr. Jerome failed to measure is the Human Development Index. He came to the United States and went to school because the University of Liberia is not equipped enough to countries like Ghana, Guinea, that used to come to us. But this country had an independent after a long time. So what did that tell you about measurement? So when President Weah started to put things into context, that giving young people the belief that they can look up to their leader to be successful, I think that is what the president is defining. And he did say something that aligned with what I said, that the president is defining his success, which will be determined in the future by what he's doing today. It's like what they say, give the man his flower while he is alive. The president knows exactly, and I think Brother Joel alluded to many of those landmarks that the president has undertaken. Never in the history of our country has those things been done. Now, Mr. Verdia made a very big mistake tonight. He spoke about the health system in the country under 3 years, and I will allow everyone go right now to Google, type in John Hopkins University, look for global health security. After 2015, all countries were given 6 reasons to determine what the health of their country will be if there's any pandemic or epidemic. Liberia had 35.2. Did Ellen pass the information over? No. I cannot blame Ellen when it comes to poor health system and poor sector in our country. And I want the reason why Mr. Verdia went to that TRC. But I think Mr. Verdia is leading in the wrong direction because he has defined in his own perception that if no one addressed the issue of TRC immediately, he don't align with that person. He said the president cannot say he's a successful president now because he's still in his office. But he's calling on the president and saying he's not doing so well because he has not implemented the TRC. This complete contradiction. You said his term is not over, but you say that he's not implemented the TRC. He still got extra 3 years to go. So that's complete contradiction. And I think Brother Jerome need to have the open mind. Forget about reacting on his emotions. Let him have the open mind. If Ellie called frustration for his pathway to what he wanted to achieve, Mr. Weir has his own way of doing things. All it takes is for us to work along with him to make sure that we get things done. As far as Smith Tobe issue, I agree with him on this one. I give him a B+ for that. Let her go ahead. Smith Tobe took the responsibility for himself. Again, I'd like to say a big thank you. I see my man Kajabu over there trying to tell me that my credibility need to be investigated. I just want to tell your man, I got my tip out there. Let him go listen to it.
Well, before you go, guys, we had something dramatic on the show last night that we don't condone. People were speaking out of emotions last night, and my younger brother and friend, who I admire, even though we disagree politically, came out and said some things that were not too pleasant to the ear. And I didn't want to bring him on, but perhaps he has something to say. Perhaps he had a different mindset. I want to welcome Classy D. Hello, Classy D.
See.
Hello. Hello.
What's up, Classy D?
Classy, welcome.
I'm fine. I just came here tonight to apologize for what happened last night to your partner, to all the guests for last night. I disrupted the show. I apologize. I deeply apologize because the attacks were too much on the director. So that's why I came in, but I don't meant to do that. I just flipped. But it would never happen again on your show. I apologize. You know me. I came from a home. I was raised. I never grew up. I was raised by two parents, my mother and my father. I was not raised by a single mother. So I apologize to the guests on the show. Your please forgive me. And I apologize to you. I disrupted the show yesterday. But I don't want to say just 2 things before I go. Mr. Ashford, as a Liberian, we are pleading. Can you please ask Mr. Cummings to bring his documentary? We want to see Cummings, Cummings documentary. I want to see Joseph Braga documentary. I want to see the man I just left, the caller, Mr. Vola, his documentary, what he did in Liberia and what he did for Liberian people. Say you call him counselor, we want to see a documentary, or the things that he did for the Liberian people in Liberia. That's all. Thank you. I love you guys. We want to see documentary of all Liberians inspiring people. Every inspiring people in the world got documentary and want to see their own. So we have almost 8 to 9. So we want to see their own to change Liberia. Thank you. I love you.
That's the point today. And then again, Randy and Joel want to say the big thank you to you for taking up time. As always, the platform is open. We are not part of any political institution. We straight down the middle. And if you have something to say, as long as it benefits Liberia, it's
Yeah.
in the interest of the people of
And,
Liberia.
and also before I leave tonight, let me say a big thank you to your audience. I know many times on my show I don't get to see them, but I want to appreciate them for all the comments, negative, positive. For me, I believe in the principle of your strength, your weakness, your opportunity, and the threat you pose to yourself. So I want to say a big thank you to every one of them. Liberia is our country. We did it to Ellen. This is our government. We are defending our government by all means. And as you can see, like I said, most of the young guys in our government, whether the inside or outside, they are not ashamed to admit they're wrong. You just listen to Class D, taking that leap of faith, coming here and say, you know what, Ashford, I'd like to apologize to your audience. How many people from the opposition ever come to be such a comment? So until then, thank you, Brother Joel. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure meeting you.
Yes, sir.
Ashford, thank you for the invitation. Man, I enjoy the show, man. I enjoy the show.
Thank you.
And I look forward to the comment after this.
Okay.
That is where I really believe Liberian will make progress. All right. We are making progress. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay,
Bye-bye,
thank you,
everyone.
Joel. Have a good night, gentlemen.
Thank you.
All right.
I want to go back in the studio where Mrs. Letty Brooks Rabbits is standing by right now with a parting comment. Mrs. Rabbits. Mrs. Rabbits. I think what did we lose her?
Yes. Good evening, Mr. Garley. I'm here.
Okay, go ahead.
Would you please allow me to just promote Just Sam, the young lady that's vying for the American Idol.
Absolutely.
We ask all of our
Absolutely,
viewers to please
Miss Roberts.
support. Thank you. To please like Just Sam page, the support group on Facebook, and follow her, and you'll get all the updates and all how to vote for her as a patron on American Idol. Again, we want to say thank you to all of our guests, Mr. Williamson and Mr. J. Randy Dapo, and to all of our callers and commenters. We say thank you for being a part of this all informative and entertaining edition of Bridge Radio Africa. And last but not least, we want you to know, again, you can support this station through advertisement or just your financial support. Nothing goes, all of these productions we see is people that support them. So let's not hesitate to support, by using it for your announcement or whatever you can. Again, I say thank you for having me as part of this team, Bridge Radio Africa. Signing off, Letitia Roberts. Back to you, Mr. Garley.
That's right. A big thank you to Mrs. Roberts. And with that said, folks, tonight we're on 4 major platforms. We are on the BridgeRadioAfrica.com. We're also on Twitter, Periscope, and then we're on YouTube as well, and of course the Facebook page. So we're on 4 major platforms tonight. You never know. You have a business and you want us to advertise for your business. You want us to do a voice-over production for your company, documentary, you name it. Just feel free to contact us. Go to BridgeRadioAfrica.com and leave us a message, or the telephone number is 248-979-1718. We want to say a big thank you to the team in Liberia, the technical team, and of course, the invitation is open to all of you. Whether you are involved in the entertainment, you're involved into religious activities, politics, social services, and you want to form part of the platform, just feel free to send us an email, and of course, or a text message via our Facebook, Bridge Radio Africa Facebook page, and of course, somebody from the marketing department will reach out to you. You're in the teams of politics, you want to schedule an interview, please feel free to do so. Without said, please allow me to borrow the wordings of the wise man. Tough times don't last, tough people do. The height of a man is never known until he rises, and there's no second chance to make that first impression. Don't see okra and swallow bone, because you can't hide your nakedness from beef and bucket. When God bless you, don't say that medicine. When women know you, friend, black man. This has been yours truly. The brother who doesn't eat iron, but he's definitely stronger than a lion. That's what they call him, Ashford the Giant. 1 copy Garley. Have a good night.